From Hallmark Christmas movies to Academy Award-winning classics, great storytelling has always found a home in Connecticut. The state is a natural film set, with a diverse wealth of locations, from private homes to public museums, factories to farms, historic towns to modern cityscapes. Filmmakers choose to work in our state because of the authenticity audiences want, along with the visual versatility, skilled resources, and tax incentives that they're looking for. Joining us today to talk about filmmaking in Connecticut are Patricia Clark from 48 Hour Film Project New Haven and Jonathan Black of Chair Tent Productions. We'd like to thank our sponsors at Gateway Community College and Housatonic Community College. The Municipal Voice is a Connecticut Conference of Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH LP 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments. CCM's Municipal Voice podcast continues to present a key forum on important state local issues. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the consensus views of CCM or member municipal leaders. Jonathan, Trish, thanks for joining us today.
Nice to meet you. Yes.
Jonathan, so let's start with you today. You're not originally from Connecticut. Prior to coming here, I think you're from Georgia originally, but you spent 15 years out in California working in the film industry in LA. What brought you to Connecticut, and how does working in the film industry here, in Connecticut and more broadly on the East Coast compare to working in Hollywood?
A great question. I have to say, my heart was always tied to being in Los Angeles, and then I met a wonderful girl named Lauren Kalb and got engaged. She's originally from Newtown. She grew up in Newtown, went to Newtown High School, was a valedictorian, and her family's all here. And she was in the industry. She's been in the industry for like 20 something years. She lived in LA as well. Got married, had a kid, and we were just, producing a lot. I have roughly almost 50 films under my belt right now. And we were just, she's been working on big shows. And then ironically, the pandemic happened. And when the pandemic happened, having a little kid, and then my wife was being pregnant, we're like, wait a minute, what state is really good, has, decent credits, could be potentially a really good club for us to bring our production services? And I said, you know what, let's go to Connecticut. And she was like, what? I'm like, let's go to Connecticut. And so, 2.5 years ago, we sold our house and moved out here. And I have to say, it was a pretty big transition living in Los Angeles and basically, easy to walk into any of the major agencies or the major studios or streamers. But here it's like, I got New York, I've got New Jersey and Massachusetts. So it took a little bit trying to figure it all out. Just kind of let you know what we do is we run a production services company. So, my thing is I have a great relationship with all the major streamers, all the major networks. And we're like, shoot in Connecticut, shoot here. It's a great state. I've been here 2.5 years and think it's a great state to bring good business here. And come on, let's get it away from New Jersey, New York.
Yeah, right. So you did come out here and you did start something called Chair Tent Productions. Could you tell us a little bit more about Chair Tent?
Yeah, so Chair Tent Productions was originally, our production company in LA, and we both looked at each other and go, my wife and I are like, we love logistics. I have a national signatory deal with IATSE, and I know all the unions. I have, connections with all the major streamers and major networks. So we're like, we just want to create a services company to basically provide crewing, locations, support services, and all of that to your players and TV shows, specifically on major tentpole films, and try to get some bigger productions here. So that's what we do. We, we just provide services, and I kind of got out of the producing world for a little bit. I like the logistics side, and it just, I kind of want to help a lot of big producers and production companies come here and find great talent here, because there is a lot of great talent in the state.
So it was a change of kind of what you were doing, not just where you were doing it within the industry.
Yeah. My background has been producing everything from development finance to attaching talent to distribution, to lead producing. I mean, I've been all over the map. And my love was, I had a line producing background, unit production management background, and I'd done over 40 national commercials in my career as well. And I love helping crew. I love helping people make great films and make great entertainment. And I also have a family atmosphere of how I work. So a lot of my clients love the fact that they're treated like family. And so, hey, we brought the services company here and have everything set up to really provide, especially larger productions. That was my goal, because that creates a lot of job opportunities and huge economic impact to the state.
Does the pace of Connecticut make it a little bit easier to kind of maintain that sort of family sort of feeling within the company?
Yeah, ironically, being in Connecticut, it feels more like kind of laid back. In Los Angeles, anybody will tell you, you sit on the 101 or the 405 for 2 hours doing conference calls.
Yeah.
At least if you're in traffic here, it's pretty, it's beautiful, but it's so spread out. And also the proximity to New York, I think people feel like they still can go to the city, they can stretch their legs here. And the beauty of the state, the different landscapes, the natural like film set feel is all over the state. And then on top of that, there's a lot of great vendors and a lot of great crew here.
Definitely. So Trish, your path is a little bit different than Jonathan's. You are in fact a Connecticut native, and you left Connecticut for a while after college and embarked on a career in film and television, picked up an Emmy somewhere along the way there. And I know you were working with things like VH1, the Rosie O'Donnell Show. Talk a little bit about like what that was like coming from Connecticut and going into, I'm assuming this was in New York. How did that all go?
Well, I mean, it really stemmed from college. So I went to Marist College, and one of the things that they do when you're in the communications production field is get you an internship wherever you want. And I said I wanted to intern at MTV, and they said, well, they're not making any shows right now. How about VH1? And that's where that relationship started. I started as an intern, and then after I graduated, I moved to New York. As soon as the next show was in production, I got hired. So I feel like it's almost like the older way of doing things, whereas I worked from an intern up to PA, up to associate producer, so segment producer, and learned all aspects of production, and and kept trying different venues, and as in like different upgrades on the set, and that's really what made me turn into a producer, because I kind of got a little taste of all the different parts of the cast and crew. At VH1, a lot of that was behind the scenes making a Legends or 100 Greatest. So it's a lot of putting the segments together and going through clips and archives. And then at Rosie, it was field production. So it was out in the field, so, I've done all of that, and then some indie films and indie series and stuff. But as Jonathan was saying, I do think New York and LA are different paces than Connecticut, for sure. It's, not everybody wants to work at that pace for that long, or you want to do it and never leave. So, it's kind of one or the other.
So for you, the kind of going in to New York rather than LA was kind of a function of where you went to school, and that you already had that foot in the door from college with some of the New York scene, as it was. Yeah,
I mean, I think a big part of this industry is who you know. And I mean, that's in fact even how I got the job from Rosie. It was a lot of people who worked at Viacom, so MTV, Nickelodeon, VH1, got hired to start that talk show. And I literally took someone else's job. Like, he was leaving, they didn't put out that they needed a new associate producer. He just
someone there said, I know someone, and got Trish on the phone.
Yeah, Trish, I'm leaving, come interview, you'll get the job tomorrow. That's
how it works a lot of times.
It's how it works a lot of times.
So then after that time working in that industry, you kind of became involved with events and nonprofit, doing that sort of stuff. How did that come about?
I mean, really, it came about because I moved back to Connecticut. I was a young single mother, and I got a job with arts. At this time, it was Arts and Ideas started, and then
here in New Haven,
and then Long Wharf Theater, the public library. So I would do and LEAP. I would help do their fundraising events, and similar to Jonathan, like everything in the arts needs development and fundraising. So you have to do like parties, get the money to come in. So really, I've worked with almost every New Haven nonprofit arts organization.
Well, which is important, and it's a big part of this, because just love of film stuff isn't all of this required for what either one of you do. You have to have some knowledge, and in your case, it's event planning. In your case, it's production. But there's a whole lot of things to this industry beyond just the glamorous side that a lot of people necessarily focus on.
There's a lot of work before you get to the glamour.
There's a lot of work before the glamour. So, Jonathan, on April 19th, you had the inaugural meeting of the Connecticut Film and TV Alliance, which was a new organization whose mission is strengthening the state's attractiveness and vitality as a production hub for film and television. How did you become involved with this organization?
That's a great question, because as I got here, I was like, I talked to a lot of my clients. They're like, you need infrastructure. Where's the crew? Where's the support? Is there sound stages? And, you need to bring the whole state together. That was actually one of the recommendations from one of my clients was, I don't see the cohesiveness of the state. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I got to also want to fight for the tax credit. So I was like, why don't I just kind of brainstorm? And I came up with this idea of the alliance is pulling the entire state together, everywhere from, Mystic to down to Greenwich to New Haven up to, New Milford, wherever, and bring everyone together, because that's how you build the infrastructure. That's how you build a community that not only supports a better tax credit or a better situation, but also help builds on training, development, education, more job opportunities. And then we build a crew, and then we can obviously bring in bigger business, more job opportunities. And the last but not least is the retention from the university systems. And want to work with the universities to try to figure out, they all go to New York or LA or Georgia or somewhere else. Why don't they stay in the state? So this alliance really kind of started out to just help try to build infrastructure, and it's exploded. I mean, we've had 3 big events, and we're already forming specific committees. And I'm just excited about the overwhelming support and everything, bringing the whole state together.
Now, one topic that's always of interest to us here at CCM are taxes and legislation. And your organization was supportive of House Bill 6929. It was a bill designed to raise Connecticut's film and digital media production tax credits from, I think, 30 to 37%. And it made it out of the General Assembly committee and was headed for a vote, but it didn't end up passing. But there was an increase in the value of the existing credit. How did the tax credits affect working in that industry here? And why are you supportive of these tax credits as an organization?
Yeah. So, I kind of, I'm from Atlanta. So I saw Atlanta go through before the credit was passed and then after the credit was passed. So I kind of saw exactly what they did. And I said, you know what, we can try to mirror that. And then, so I looked at New Jersey's credit. As you guys might know, about 6 years ago, New Jersey didn't have a tax credit. And as soon as they passed it up to 37%, there was a huge explosion of production. Massive amount of production there, tripling the amount, quadrupling the amount. Now they have massive sound stages. They have a big, decent infrastructure now. And then I looked at New York and I was like, they're struggling. There's some issues with New York's credit. And I said, well, here's what we got to do. So we obviously working with former Speaker of the House, Jim Amon, and Michael Rell, his partner, which, his mom was Governor Rell. We just came up with the idea of working with the finance committee to take a look at what these tax credits really can and can't do. We were advocating to make the credit up to 37%. We want to make it competitive. We didn't want to lose business to New Jersey or Massachusetts or New York or Georgia. And we talked to the finance committee with Senator Fonfara, and Chairwoman Horn, and there was some language written in there about the transfer rate, which is the back end of the credit. And they had tried to pass this legislation a few years ago and last year, and it just didn't make it out of committee. So we just took that and said, no, listen, we're going to fight for whatever we can get. So we were excited that there was a lot of attention. We were excited that there is interest. Probably the misnomer that we're dealing with was the reporting of the economic impact. What is the real economic impact? What is the waterfall effect? When we bring a $10 million or a $50 million production to the state, how does that affect the general population? And how does it affect the spread of the tax credits and the tax burden? And so at the end of this, conversation, got to give a lot of credit out to Maria Horn, Representative Horn. She fought for whatever she could hang on to. And she said, listen, we think that there's some value to this. So we were able to get a small win with for the back end transfer credit. What that does is it allows current stakeholders or companies that have a tax liability and a tax burden in the state, to also have, if they have an ownership in that and then ownership in the production, they can get a transfer credit up to 92%.
Yeah.
So it really helps the current, companies. But what it also does, and we're excited about this opportunity, is stakeholders like Amazon, that have obviously a big operation here, on the non-studio film side, they could be looking at this as an opportunity. NBC Universal, obviously Universal Productions, and we could get maybe a movie or television show, things like that. So it is a small win. The other thing that came out of all this, it got signed by the governor, so we were great. We snuck some legislation there. Got to give it to Maria Horn and her staff, but she got it in. And we have also reporting, more aggressive reporting to figure out how we can make the tax credit more effective. And then also looking at putting a task force together to bring everyone together to discuss the pros and cons and how we can make it more effective and more essentially better for everyone across the board. So I feel like I think we got a good win. It's a good start. I mean, we started this press conference in mid to late February. And now we're at the end of the session, and we did get some legislation passed. So, hey, you got to take it. You got to take it. So one for the team, and we did something good.
Yeah. And Trish, what do you hear from filmmakers coming to Connecticut about the tax credits? Is that something that you hear as something that does kind of bring some of the business to the state?
I mean, I don't hear as much of it. And I think that's because I'm more with the lower budget and indie films and, and groups. And so it's not like they feel it doesn't really do much for them. It's more for the bigger productions. And I think that's something that the cast and crews that I deal with, that's what they want to see. They want to see it a little more widespread, to be for the indie filmmaker, to be something that maybe they can understand a little bit easier, because, I mean, my day job is working for the government. There's a lot of legalese that the general public does not understand and does not really get that, like, well, okay, so this is a tax credit, but it's coming back through someone else in this channel and that, they just want it to work for their production.
I have some good news. Sorry, Tricia. I have some good news. Sorry to interrupt you. So one of the things that some people have been talking to me about helping independent film is, how you have to spend $1 million to get the 30%. There is some opportunity. Maybe we can lower that down to $500,000 to get the 30%. So that entices, feeds into that, indie side, because the indie side, really builds up the opportunity for larger productions. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's something I would like to, look into more.
So that was something that you were hoping to get, but didn't end up. Was that in the House bill there that you were hoping to get?
No, it was something that has been
discussed.
Like Trish said, that have brought this to my attention, and how can we support local independent filmmakers? And so I definitely want to figure that out. And I think, dropping the minimum to 500,000 maybe might be a way to do it. There's other avenues to do it, but Trisha's got a good point. We need to support the local guys that are producing some great content, at the lower levels. And that helps create an opportunity for them to, support larger productions too, and move up the ladder, so to speak.
Yeah, well, and not like they get to do that. And, you were talking about training, and we, as you weren't in Connecticut, you didn't know that we had a Connecticut training program for years that, worked pretty well with certain colleges and industries. But then, if that professor left, or if that wasn't in the state budget to help them fund that year, it kind of went away. And that was really training for, all the positions on a crew, which was great. And now it's turned into more of digital media training, because now everybody, if you have a phone, you can be a filmmaker.
Right.
Honestly, it's kind of turned into that. A lot of people have tried to bring back the Connecticut training program. A lot of people have, I'm sure you're already finding out that there are a lot of little groups in Connecticut, this film group, and we're strong here, but we don't know the people on the other side of the state. And I think something that you've, in a short time been successful with already with the Alliance is kind of trying to bridge that gap and actually just concentrate on if we work at the state level and can get these changes made, this is going to help everybody. This is going to help the state. And I think that's really important to say that this will help the indie level as well as the features. And this may bring in like a big, TV show, which would be great. And because we've got the crew that can do it. You don't have to truck them in from New York.
I will say the great thing is we do have an educational committee. We've also been in contact with Heather. She's over the digital film and media for UConn. And we've also been speaking to the Connecticut Digital Media organization. So to work with all the universities, the idea is to look at retention problems, because this is something, there's a lot of billions of dollars into these university systems. The other thing that we also know is that educational program, it's dormant, but it is not tied directly to the tax credit legislation. It's something different. So we have been discussing with former Speaker Amon and Michael Rell about trying to bring that back with working with the university systems. Also, I've been working with the local unions below the line to bring some quality, seasoned veterans to teach, to get certifications and things like that. So Tricia's got a good point. That there was such a great opportunity, and it kind of died and dwindled out a bit. So we gotta recapture that flame, because there's a lot of great talent here.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM. Yeah, talking about some of those education programs, are there other things other than tax incentives that you see that, municipal or state leaders could be doing to help the industry?
Yes. And one of the things, and this is why it's so important working with CCM and you guys, is making a certification program or a program making the communities film friendly. Okay. So a lot of these mayors, first selectmen, they want productions there, but they don't know, what is a location manager? What is a location scout? How do I do permits? How do I handle if somebody wants to close a street down? What if they're going to burn down a Christmas tree in the middle of the lawn? The fire department's going to be involved. But these towns love it. It's something fun for them. And they also get the economic impact of that. So I really want to say, can we create an organization that supports this sort of training of these municipalities about being a film-friendly community? And also making money off the permitting and understanding how to get productions there. Like in New Milford, Danbury, Bridgeport, there's some great towns that have really, been wanting productions to come to their community.
Yeah, I grew up in New Milford. I remember, I think it was when I was in college, the Adam Sandler did Mr. Deeds there, and it was a big deal, and everybody was trying to be an extra and all that kind of stuff.
And it would be great to have that at the different levels, though, again, too, because like how the city of New Haven Arts, Culture, and Tourism supports the 48 over the weekend is for the teams, they'll waive the filmmaking permit.
That's awesome.
Just so they can film in New Haven at parks or whatever. But, I'm also very clear, you have a permit. But if the police or fire department come, do not waive that permit. And it's like, that's not going to help you necessarily if you're doing something, sketchy. But I mean, a lot of even indie filmmakers won't even go for the permit. They'll just go around it. There's so much guerrilla. And it should be, as you're saying, it should be friendly and work together and just be like, if you just have this, then we can help you make it even better. Because like now we can help you contact the police. We can help you block this street, even if it's just for a couple hours. We've had Indiana Jones film here, but we've also had the Hallmark movie that would just block down, a couple blocks, all Chapel Street, all, downtown New Haven, the biggest spots that you can get. But, having the permit, talking to the actual locals that, can make it happen officially and appropriately is really important, and it shouldn't be something that scares the filmmakers away from doing it.
Make it easier for filmmakers to do things the right way.
Right. Well, and also there's a lot of support staff things like, hey, I need a local restaurant. By the way, I need a place that can make 100 pizzas. Where's the local food truck? By the way, I need a local dry cleaners. I need help with this. Is what the Chamber of Commerce are important too. So there is a very strong symbiotic relationship to production and to local communities. And I've noticed, for example, Mayor Pete in New Milford, Mayor Esposito in Danbury, working with both of them, they're fantastic. They're like open arms. And what this is sort of helping everyone is outside of the state, people are starting to hear, oh, there's a great community support. So they feel like they're welcomed there, because let me tell you, living in Los Angeles, getting a film LA permit is like pulling teeth out of, it's hard and it's very difficult. In New York, I know you have to have a bunch of parking PAs to shut down a street, and it's thousands and thousands of dollars. And it's very difficult. So we want to make our process easy. Why? Because the money goes back to the local community. And a lot of times, like if we film in a coffee shop, well, we might pay to rent that coffee shop out for the day and buy a bunch of coffee from them anyway. So it's like they get a huge economic impact. So I think there is a strong symbiotic relationship between the local municipalities and the local filmmakers, and even outside of the state, to bring in, to showcase, Connecticut's a great place to come.
Yeah. When we talk about the economic impact, what kind of numbers are we talking about in Connecticut? Like, how much money does the industry bring into the state? Do you have any sort of studies that have figured that out?
Yeah. So you have to look at it from two separate ends of this. One end is the current stakeholders, which would be the ESPN, WWE, NBC Sports, all that. That's a chunk. That's obviously, can be billions of dollars over the last 10 years. Then there's the feature film and smaller television stuff that has come in and out, back and forth, reaching, anywhere from probably the last 10 years, I'm not sure exactly the number, but it's in the millions and millions of dollars. I can tell you an average production could easily spend $50,000 a day, and even up to $100,000 a day, and even sometimes spend only $5,000 a day. But that money is spent in the local communities. And I think the reporting is not showing, like, if I put out my actors in a hotel, right? Well, I have to pay hotel tax. I have to rent the hotel. And by the way, they're going to probably get room service. So that's going to be, and then they're going to tip the people coming in. And then guess what? They're probably going to want to go down to the local bar on Friday and have a drink because they're trying to relax. So there's all of this stuff that I think it needs to be more evaluated and reported correctly to show the true economic impact, because our opposition that's been pushing back on this credit, they're only looking at the job creation, the taxes that these people are paying, and the secondary job market, and then what they're paying. They're not looking at, wow, what about property tax that homeowners are paying because we rented out a house for 5 weeks? What about property tax that ESPN's paying on their property? What about the permits? What about I hire a policeman and firemen, and I pay for their hours to be on the street to help us out? What does that go? So you start to see, right? It's that's the in the weeds reporting. And I think that's the exciting part, because a lot of these local communities really want that support. Yeah.
I think it's interesting, Jonathan, you mentioned, ESPN, the WW, where they are, the wrestling, and all that kind of stuff. We talk about bringing stuff into Connecticut, but there was already some big players in Connecticut. And Trish, you might have seen more of this being around here longer. Like, do you see having those kind of bigger players in the state? Like, do you see a lot of people who work there then going to other aspects of the industry? Like, I know personally, I've known a few people who are editors or filmmakers who at some point were cutting, sports footage for ESPN, and that's how they learned how to edit. Like, does having those in the state kind of generate a base level of sort of skill and talent?
I mean, I think so. And I think I wish there was more of it. But again, it's a lot of like who you know. And so I know like this group that is at ESPN, which, unfortunately has gone through a lot of layoffs the last few years. There's always jobs posting for WWE and like NBC Universal, like Stanford. Like, so there's pockets of where it is. And I do think a lot of those maybe start out with Connecticut college students that then will start there. Like, so maybe they are interning there and working their way in, or maybe that's their, avenue in. But a lot of these, if once they get in, they really like it. Like, and for example, if you're at ESPN, that means you're part of Disney. Yeah. So maybe you can move on to a
Disney
different
park
aspect.
tickets. Well, I talk about the production here. My wife's done a lot of reality TV, and she got hired by Lucky 8, which does a lot of the Food That Built America, the Booze, Bets, and Sex That Built America. They're doing Shark Week. She's working on a Shark Week show for them now, and they're in Stanford. It's there. So there's a lot of production. It's just not. it's in one area or a couple of facets. And what I can tell you in talking to a lot of these universities, you'll have students that will study film and television, and they want to do, an HBO TV series. They want to do a big feature film, or they want to hire, Nicolas Cage or something, right? And those kind of productions are not really well supported here. Now, outside of the state, like if you go to New York or Atlanta or LA, there's a lot more of that. So I think the cool thing is, I think what Trisha's doing with the 48-hour film festival, and I think with a lot of the other entities that are all over the state, they're fighting really hard to say, listen, we've got great talent here. And so we just need to kind of support that. And I think sort of coming together, all of us, and doing this podcast and talking to your audience is extremely important for letting them know, gosh, how cool is it to watch TV on a Friday night with your family and go, wait a minute, that's New Haven, or that's like, Weathersford, or, it's like, Bridgeport. It's kind of cool, from just a regular moviegoer, or, people that like to watch, movies. So,
yeah, it is very cool. So Trish, tell me about how you came to run 48 Hours in New Haven, and how the project came to New Haven.
Well, so the 48-hour film project has been around for 22 years worldwide, in about 130.
It's a big worldwide event. It's not just in New Haven.
It's not just in New Haven.
Yeah. One.
It's it fluctuates between like 130, 150 cities around the globe, and teams of filmmakers sign up to make their film in 48 hours.
Hence the name. So they have to
hence the name.
Write, shoot,
direct, edit,
and hand
everything.
in a short film to you 40 hours from when they find out what they're doing.
Yeah. And, how I found out about it is a friend of mine was acting in one in Cleveland, and he's like, well, I know you're not in New York anymore, but you still want to do production. Maybe you should do this in Connecticut. And when I looked them up and started to follow them on the newsletter, they're like, oh, we're looking maybe Hartford, Connecticut. And so I contacted them and I said, I believe there's a typo there, and you meant New Haven, because New Haven is the arts capital of Connecticut. And I convinced them that I was right, and they hired me. So this is now year 13 for New Haven doing the 48. And the teams get a random film genre on Friday night. They get a specific character, prop, and line of dialogue on Friday night, so that ensures that they will make the film over the 48 hours.
And every one of the people in the thing this year have to use that same character name, same prop, and same line has to show up somewhere in theirs. No matter whatever they end up writing, they have to work that in. It's kind of it
has to work into the film. If not, you're disqualified. But we'll screen everything, whether it's
And do you think, was that originally part of that? I mean, it's fun to see how people work it in, but is that also sort of a way to make sure that everyone is in fact filming it when they're supposed to be, and not trying to sneak one in ahead of time, you think?
100% part of filming it over the weekend, because you don't know beforehand. And that's part of it too, that you have to write the script, which I think, you've taken part, most people write the script on Friday night till the wee hours, and then they start filming on Saturday. And you can have an idea. There's 35 film genres to choose from that you might get. So you can, try to formulate some ideas, but then you have to get film in, fix in the elements. Like, and last year their part element or the character was like a podiatrist.
Okay.
I had no idea I'd have so many films about death and feet. Obviously I knew the feet part, but didn't know that meant so much death.
You should have seen the feet coming. I'm just saying. From that first year to now, how has 48 in New Haven grown?
Well, I mean, the first year I had like 2 months to plan the whole thing, and I had 9 teams.
Okay.
And I was screening at the Whitney Screening Center at Yale. And now I get close to 40 teams every year. I do get teams from all over New England, all over anywhere, because anyone can do it.
If they want to do this, they don't have to be from New Haven.
You don't have to be in New Haven, although I make a special award for someone who has the best New Haven shot, because I like to highlight New Haven. But you don't have to shoot in New Haven. But now I get close to 40 teams, and we screen at the Bijou, which is a beautiful, fantastic venue in Bridgeport. And it's great because you're filming something, you're having fun, hopefully, with your friends, and then you get to see it on a big screen.
Yeah.
And a lot of these indie filmmakers, this may be the only thing they see on a big screen, or
the first time at least. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have had teams that have moved on and done bigger and better things. 2 of the winning films from New Haven have gone on to screen at the Cannes Film Festival.
Oh, that's very cool. So from New Haven, the winner of that goes on to the national?
Kind of, because I mean, we're international, but yeah, it's Filmapalooza is all of the city winners competing against each other for the same
for the entire, all the international ones come together at Filmapalooza.
Yeah.
So New Haven one, New York, all come together at Filmapalooza, and
every winner comes in, because every city has their own awards for best film, best actor, best cinematography. But then Filmapalooza is all of the city winners competing at that level again. And about a dozen of those this year, now about 25 of those will then go on to screen it at the Shorts Corner at Cannes.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
The international thing, but as we were discussing here, it's pretty much run on a city-to-city basis.
Yeah.
So how important is it for an event like this to have support from the city that you're in, and also, other organizations within the community?
The more sponsorships and support, the better. Period.
Yeah.
And I like to get, as I mentioned about the film waiver from New Haven, we get support from the state office of film, television, and digital media every year. And a big support of that is word of mouth, just to get more people interested, more people filming. But the more you can get, the better, because as you're saying, if this sponsor is a friend to the film crew, maybe we can get some food, maybe we can get the pizza, maybe we can get the location that we're shooting for. And I can't stress it enough, the more support, the better. And I can see the international films from the 48.
Mm-hmm.
Other governments are way more supportive than ours of the arts.
Yeah, in those credits at the end, you see supported by the film of Quebec or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all the credits, like they have all this stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, they just gave us this red camera for free to film it.
Yeah.
Our people are renting it. Our people are weekend warriors. You can see the quality level when you get that support is much higher. And I mean, I wish we had that in Connecticut. I wish we had that in the States, period.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like nationwide, that the arts have slipped away to the wayside for a lot of
unfortunately
states.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM. Hey, Jonathan, do you think are events like this important to the community to
here's the thing, is not only is it important, there's a lot of proof of concepts. There's a lot of people that will take these and grow it into a bigger feature or a TV series too. And it's also part of this is, how we all have a resume, right? Mm-hmm. This kind of situation that Trisha's talking about also helps people, build their reel and build portfolio and giving opportunity for filmmakers to make something, really cool that they can showcase their talent, which helps them get hired in other places. So there's a huge need for this. But I also agree with Trish that there is the arts of slipping, and I think we have to figure that out, because I think the arts and humanities are what keep people sane. I feel like during that pandemic, sorry, but I don't know how much Disney I watched, but I watched a lot of Disney films. And it was because I was trying to keep my kids happy, right? So I think there is a social network need. And I think it's a massive impact. And I don't think we're just talking about economic either.
Yeah.
I think just overall good morale. And people get excited, like they get to showcase the film. I would imagine Trisha could tell you when they get to see their film on a big screen, it's pretty cool experience. I know I went to one of my first premieres when I film I produced, and I was like, this is so cool. Seeing it on the big screen. So it's cool.
Yeah. And like our teams love seeing the films, love having the Q&A, and we're a very supportive film community and creative community in Connecticut. And the films can go on to go to other film festivals, and they can keep spreading it around. And as you mentioned, Sundance, one of our winning films tweaked his 48 after he did it, submitted it to Sundance, and became a Sundance fellow.
Yeah.
Of course, then moved to LA after that, and never came back to Connecticut again. But
I think
that's the thing.
I don't think people understand it. You can get an Academy Award for shorts. Like,
absolutely.
People have no idea. I'm like, there's a whole world out there of shorts, and that are fantastic. I mean, just like blow you away. So it's a cool avenue. Cool thing.
There are some great short film festivals that just the quality is amazing. It's fantastic to see.
Yeah, and talking about the building of community, not everyone comes to something like this with their team and already put together, right? Like some people are actually meeting other people within the industry. It might be, their intro to some of these people.
Yeah. I think the 48 is a great spot. I have a lot of, meet and greet events to try to pair people up so they can join a team. But I'm a big advocate of saying this is a great way to test out if you can work with somebody again, or if you want to, continue to be a partner with them. It's also a great way to try different aspects of the production because, as I said, in growing up in the industry, like I learned all the different aspects. So I can, I'm the producer, I'm behind the scenes, but I can pick up the boom mic if I need to and, be the audio person. So, filming over the weekends, for a 48 is a good testing ground. And, and yes, you can redo it and make something better. Some people have made features from what they've done with the 48. But I think it's a great way to help train people. And we could have a team of 2 people, or we could have a team of 40 or 50. So if you have 40 or 50, you're giving someone that experience and that training to move on and to like get a new handle on something in the production.
Trish, you mentioned, some meet and greets and stuff. So it's not just the one weekend of the 48 filming that you're doing stuff. There's other events leading up to it.
Oh yeah, I have events leading up to it starting around February, even though our filming weekend is the last weekend of July and we screened in August. And so it might be, a happy hour where you can, mix and mingle, or something at the coffee shop, because I do have people from age 10 to age 80 that take part. It's a wide range. We do workshops, like last night's workshop on sound was at ETV, East Haven Public Television.
Okay.
So we, I try to spread them out every couple weeks or so, do something, as well as there's certainly all social media and aspects. But part of it is you want to see if you get along with someone, over some cheese and crackers
before you sign up to do a intense 48-hour experience.
Yeah.
Hey, I would say it's like a marriage. It's family.
It is a family.
When you're elbow to elbow with somebody, it can change the dynamic of how you work with people.
Yeah, and some of these teams work together year after year too. So
yeah, some teams come back and it's year to year. Sometimes it's their first part, but like, even if it's just the weekend, or if it's a month or 2 months on a bigger set, like your set is your family. Like you do get very close to people very fast. So you want to make sure they're nice and agreeable to work with.
Right.
So all those events and the parade itself, if someone wants to learn about that, or how they can become involved, or just what the schedule is, where should they learn about all that? Their websites and stuff?
We are on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but the main thing is the 48 Hour Film Project website itself, which is just, www.48hourfilm.com. If you / New Haven, you'll go right to our page.
Okay.
But if you just
so that's
go to
for
the
whole big international thing.
Yeah, so if you go to the whole main 48 page, it will show you, all the cities, all the weekends. I think there's like 6 on our weekend as well. Like we're not the only one on our weekend, but we will be, they will have their own required elements. All 6 cities won't have the same required elements. But on the website, it has all of our events in one spot, and you can click to RSVP to anything. That's where you go to sign up your team. You just need one person to sign up the team. You can make your cast and crew later. And that has all the rules, because a lot of film, a lot of paperwork. we have to have permission for every location, every piece of music, every, actor. So all of the rules, regulations, requirements, and paperwork are on the website. So you can really tool around there.
Yeah, and read them ahead of time.
Yeah. Oh, you have to read it ahead of time for sure.
Please, please.
You can also see some of great 48s that have already been made. I mean, you can just do 48-hour film project on YouTube and you'll get a ton. I mean, there is a page, but you can see films from your city. You can see films from around the world that have gotten accolades and gone to Cannes. And it's great. Like, you'll be amazed at what people can do in 48 hours.
Yeah. So what's the schedule looking like for this year? Like, when should people sign up by? When are they actually going to be filming? And then when would we be able to see some of these?
You can sign up now, which would be great.
You sign up already. Okay, so then
you can sign up already. The sign up started in May. Right now, we're still in our early bird registration, and that rate will go up on Saturday, July 8th. We'll be in regular registration, and then for the last week and a half, it's late registration.
Okay,
but you can sign right up till kickoff. You can show up at kickoff, which will be at Armada Brewing in New Haven on Friday, July 28th.
Okay.
You'll still have to register online, but that's okay.
Yeah, where's Armada? Where's Armada Brewing?
It's in New Haven. It's down by the river.
Oh, over like Fairhaven. It's the one.
Fairhaven, yeah.
Okay.
And so you can sign up and join a team anytime before then. But I mean, the sooner the better, because the more planning you get. And I'm, constantly sending out messages to the team leaders of advice, like looking at the paperwork beforehand and filling out stuff, and tips and information. So that's all, slowly trickling out to the teams as we gear up. But, it's, we're July now, so it's just a few weeks away.
Yeah.
But then the screenings will be the following week, the first Saturday in August at the Bijou Theater in Bridgeport.
Oh, very cool.
And then awards night, after the judges have made their selections, I'll screen 10 to 12 of the films again and hand out all the awards. And that will be the last Saturday of August, also at the Bijou in Bridgeport.
And you said someone can go on and, one person can sign up for the team, but if someone's not necessarily, a team leader or, a filmmaker themselves, but they're interested in maybe participating, like helping with crew or being an actor, could they just show up at the kickoff event, or how would they maybe best?
They could show up at any of the preview events. So we have Best Video on July 6th, tomorrow. And we also will be a last minute tips night on July 26th. That'll be at ETV. But a great way is to just email me. My email for the 48 is on the website.
Okay.
Or go to us on the New Haven 48 Facebook page, because there's a group, and I encourage people to put up their headshot, say, hey, I'm available this weekend.
Okay.
Or I know audio, but if you email me, like if you can't get in, if you're looking for the best way, I can get you onto the page and kind of steer you towards a team that, like, I know this team's looking for that.
Someone crew that's looking for a team. They can all get together on social. That's great. This is for both of you, but we'll start with you, Jonathan. We always like to end on a positive note. How are you feeling about the future of the film industry in Connecticut? Are you feeling optimistic? And what would you like to see happen?
Oh, heck yeah. I'm telling you, I got chill bumps as you were just saying, what's the positive thing? I have gotten enormous amount of responses from outside the state and inside the state of how people are actually excited. There are people that budget all over the place, but for some reason they just kind of fly over Connecticut, and they're starting to pay attention to us. And then additionally, I'm excited about these lawmakers, having, the finance committee, the commerce committee, having some of these people really pay attention to how important the arts are, but how important what we're doing. And then thirdly is seeing everyone come together on the alliance. It was so heartfelt, just awesome, where people were like, oh, I didn't know you were in, here. I didn't know you were there. And gosh, let's exchange numbers. It's kind of cool to see. And seeing that is great. And I think we have a huge opportunity in the next coming years to really build this up in all kinds of ways.
Great. And Trish, where do you see the future of film in Connecticut?
I like what I'm seeing happening, because I've seen so many people try to get our creative community together.
Mhm.
And I think it's happening. It takes time, especially with the laws. So it's great to see that we're getting there,
Mhm.
piece by piece, step by step. But I think it's great to foster this creative community, to keep everybody filming, to keep reminding people that, yes, you can see a farm here. You can see, the courthouse. You can see it all seasons in Connecticut. Like,
Yeah.
we have every location that you can think of. And we are this lovely little nugget between Boston and New York. Like, we should be getting all these productions.
Yeah.
And I don't want our cast and crew to have to leave. I want them to stay here, in the nutmeg state that we,
Yeah.
we love so much. That's why we try to support it. But I think the more we can get, everyone involved, everyone on the same page to make this a better, more creative, more supportive community for everyone to stay here and to keep making productions.
Well, great. Thank you so much, both of you, for speaking with us today. Jonathan Black with Chair 10 and Trish Clark with the 48-Hour Film Project New Haven. Thanks for speaking with us today, and keep up the good work.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you for having us.
We'd like to thank our guests, Patricia Clark and Jonathan Black. We'd like to thank our sponsors at Gateway Community College and Housatonic Community College. Learn more at gatewayct.edu and housatonic.edu. The Municipal Voice is a co-production by CCM and WNHH 103.5 FM. Kevin Maloney is our executive producer. Christopher Gilson is our producer. Harry Draws is on the boards. And I'm Matt Ford, your host. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and give us a like. And watch out for our CCM chat series on our YouTube page.